Namaskar and good evening to all. A very warm welcome to all our viewers. Today in this evening session, we are conducting Virasat Talk number 176. The topic of our today's talk is Allusion to Buddhist Philosophy and Buddhist sects and subsects, a review of early inscription. It is indeed going to be a very important talk for the students of history, archaeology, Buddhist studies, philosophy and other allied subjects. For giving this talk, we have with us our distinguished speaker, Dr. T.S. Ravishankar, sir. Sir, it is our great honor and pleasure to welcome you on this platform. Before beginning to our program, I just want to give a brief information of our concerned Heritage Society personals attached to this program. The program will begin by Buddhist chanting by Dhamma Ratana. Welcome address will be given by Andrila Ghoshal, and for technical support, Bhanu Priya will be present in-house in this program. There is a general information for all our participants that there are e-certificates available. For that, a link is provided on the platform. Please fill that form for getting your e-certificate. Now, I would like to call Dhammaratna to begin this auspicious program by Buddhist chanting. Over to you, Dhammaratna.
Thank you for her. It's a very great opportunity for me and for all of the members of the Heritage Society. And I warmly welcome Sir Ravishankar Sir, guest of the honor today, and Andrila Ghosh and Fuhar. So every good works we are going to start with the chanting. It is the belief in every religion. So I'm going to start my chanting. It's called with the name of Buddham Saranam, Dhamma Saranam, Sangha Saranam. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava arahan samma sambuddho vicca charana sampanno sugado lokavidu anuttara purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manusana buddha bhagava sakato bhagavata dhammo sanditiko ekaliko ehipasiko upanayiko paccotam vaditam pavinyo iti subhadipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Ujapati-panno bhagavato savaka sangho samisiddhi-pano bhagavato savaka sangho Ujapati-panno bhagavato savaka sangho Yatidan sakari purisa yugani atta purisa pukkala itam bhagavato savaka sangho audeyo baudeyo dakkineyo anjali kareniyo anuttara punya kheta loka dhatu Bhavatu sappa mangalan rakhansu sappa devada sappa buddha nubhavena sada sukhe bhavantu te bhavatu sappa mangalan rakhansu sappa devada sappa dhamma nubhavena sada sukhe bhavantu te bhavatu sappa mangalan rakhansu sappa devada sappa sangha nubhavena sada sukhe bhavantu te Sappidiyo uvejantu sakaraga vinasantu Mate bhava tantraya sukhi dika yuka bhava Abhivadana silasa nissauja pajayino Sakkaro dhamma vadandi ayuvando sukham phala Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Now, I would like to call Andrila Ghoshalji to welcome our distinguished speaker, Dr. T.S. Ravishankar sir and other concerned authority. Oh.
Thank you, Baliji. Very warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, Dr. T.S. Ravishankar Sarji, Dr. Anantashutosh Dwivedi Sarji, our Director General of Heritage Society, all the participants, and all the members of Heritage Society and Buddhist Heritage Research Institute. I'm fortunate enough to introduce our distinguished speaker, Dr. T.S. Ravishankar sir. Dr. T.S. Ravishankar sir had his MA in Sanskrit, Ancient History and Archaeology and his PhD from the Mysore University of Mysore. He joined the Epigraphy branch of the Archaeological Survey of India as an epigraphical assistant and served more than 35 years in different positions and retired as the director of epigraphy. He is a member of the National Advisory Board of the Heritage Society, chairman of Epigraphical Society of India, executive member of Place Name Society of India, and vice president of South Indian Numismatic Society. Sir has established his expertise in deciphering Sanskrit inscriptions and also early coins. He has been teaching the students of postgraduate diploma students in archaeology at the Institute of Archaeology, ASI, New Delhi, and also delivered lectures at IGNOU and at IIT Kanpur on epigraphy. He has coordinated and conducted many workshops on paleography, epigraphy, and in numismatic at Delhi and Mysore. He has also participated in many important archaeological excavations at different places. One very important one is in Ajodha. He has participated in many seminars and conferences of national and international levels and has contributed a huge number of scholastic articles to many reputed journals in English and in Kannada language. Recently, he visited Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, for studying the Nagari inscriptions available in that country under the Cultural Exchange Program of Government of India. We are extremely delighted, sir, to have you with us, and we are keen on listening to your talk today on Allusion to Buddhist Philosophy and Buddhist Sects and Subsects, a review of early inscription. A hearty welcome and respectful welcome to you, sir. Thank you. Over to you, Fuar Baliji.
On
Thank
behalf
you.
of Heritage Society, I, Fuhar Bali, would like to invite our distinguished speaker, Dr. T.S. Ravishankar, sir, for an informative talk. Sir, please accept our invitation.
Thank you very much. I am thankful. Good evening to all the viewers. I am thankful to the organizers of Buddhist Heritage Research Institute, Center for Philosophical Studies, Heritage Society, Patna. I am highly thankful to Professor Anantashutosh Dwivedi, Director General, Heritage Society, for taking initiative in arranging my talk. As I understand, he is deeply interested in epigraphical studies and promote epigraphical studies. I am very thankful for him for giving me an opportunity again to talk on the subject Allusion to Buddhist Philosophy, Buddhist Sects and Subsects, a review of early inscriptions. And I take this opportunity again to thank our revered uh, Dhamma Ratana, Buddhist chanting done with an auspicious beginning is just created. And then other members of the society, the coordinator Fuha Bali and others. So the today's talk centers around the two aspects. One is the Buddhist philosophy. In other words, Buddhist canons, treatises, and there is always an undercurrent of philosophical thoughts in that. And another is Buddhist sects and subsects found in inscriptions. I do not again emphasize the importance, the paramount importance of epigraphical source to understand our past, especially of early period, whether it we let it beyond the political situation, political condition, socio-economic activities, religious condition, cultural aspects, anything. Especially, there cannot be early ancient Indian history without epigraphs. So it's absolutely important. So to see the origin and growth, the development of any aspect for that matter is concerned, we have to necessarily look into the earlier inscriptions, preferably ranging from 3rd century BC to 4th century. Here in this talk, I have slightly extended up to the Gupta and post-Gupta in the North Indian context. So I'd not, especially, I want to give a message to the students. They think epigraphical sources are only meant for to get into the political history of the country or the dynasty. It is not so. It is very, very rich as far as cultural aspects are concerned. Much needed to be read and written if we have to rewrite our past. That is there. And these days, we have a multi-disciplinary approach is gaining ground. So along with art, architecture, iconography, archaeological aspect, epigraphy also should be taken up simultaneously or side by side to understand our past. Especially in this talk, there are plenty of literature available on Buddhist sects or any other aspects connected with Buddhism. But I would like to say that the epigraphs give a good historical perspective to what we have learned. There may be some contradiction as far as the literary sources are concerned. But when we look at dated inscription or even undated inscription mentioning some Buddhist texts or subsects or anything, it gives a clear concept. When did exactly the particular sect existed? Maybe little earlier or later, but it gives a very good historical dimension to the that is the importance of the epigraphical source here. And the relevance, especially, I need to revert back to my earlier experience. The relevance of Buddha, the Buddhism, or its tenets or doctrines was good. Some years before, I could arrange a photo exhibition of inscriptions. There were some media people came to me and asked, what is the relevance? What is the use, especially with regard to the Ashokan rock edicts, he was asking. I told it has got a very strong message for the youngsters to respect the elders, to treat friends in a friendly manner, the neighbors, what not it has. Unfortunately, we have not taken into account many of the things. So I told, now we have a zero tolerance level and what not, we have to inculcate, bring in to the curriculum many of the Buddhist tenets or aspects which are in them, and to educate the younger generation many of the values hidden in the inscription. So this is what I could say and recollect here on this occasion. It has a very strong message for the youth to understand many things. So there is no need to reiterate the fact, especially of the earlier period, holds key to understand socio-economic, cultural history, and history of religion that prevailed in the past. A close study and analysis of early inscription ranging from 3rd century BC and 4th century little later also, revealed the philosophical trends of Buddhism present during Ashokan period, which was at its nascent form, and subsequent period which took a different defined direction. Let us try to understand the philosophical allusions and various Buddhist texts mentioned in early Buddhist inscriptions. As we know, in any given period and region, the prevailing religion and philosophical aspects, they go hand in hand. The inscriptions from different parts of India in its pan-Indian perspective helps us to understand various Buddhist sects and philosophical and religious texts followed by them. Inscriptions spread over different regions and periods make us to understand the gradual growth of philosophical trends. For example, when we analyze as a whole the Ashokan rock edicts, there are so many terms, expressions connected with the term dharma. For example, when he again and again in all the rock edicts emphatically says that they fall in two groups: dhamma for the monks and nuns, bhikshus and bhikshunis, and dhamma for the householder. These two classifications, categories we notice. And another, how much he has acquainted with the then existing Buddhist texts. It gives a glimpse when we analyze many of his rock edicts. The Sigalo Vada Sutra, comprised in the Digha Nikaya of the Buddhist scriptures, enumerates the courses of conduct such as respecting parents, reverence to teachers, liberality and seemly behavior towards friends, acquaintances and relatives, and towards brahmanas, shramanas, ascetics, and seemly behavior towards slaves and servants, which are amply reflected in Ashokan rock edicts. And this again reflects that he was well acquainted with the then prevailing the Buddhist text, Sigalo Vada Sutta, which is in the Digha Nikaya. Again, the second category what we see, the qualities which constitute Ashokas, the Dhamma, what he says, Daya, Dane, Sache, Sochaye, Madhave, and Sadhave, or Kayane, corresponding respectively to Ahimsa, Dana, Sacha, Sochaya, Samyama, Sheila, all mentioned in Lakhana Sutra. So he was aware of the then text Lakhana Sutra, again of the Digha Nikaya. This is what we come to know. And the Dhamma Mangala, mentioned in Rock Edict 9, ethical practices. This is reflected. Again, he has taken, and it is seen in Mahamangala Sutta, in the Sutta Nipata. So, the Dhamma Mangala, which is found mentioned in Rock Edict 9, is reflected. The ethical practices, Mahamangala Sutta in the Sutta Nipata. And the fifth category, what we see, Dhamma Dana, it is referred in Rock Edict 9 and 11. Dhamma Anugraha, that is Rock Edict 9. Dhamma Samvibhaga, Rock Edict 9. So Buddhist scripture, Iti Uttaka, when you refer this Iti Uttaka is a word from where he has picked up, he has taken up these aspects. That is, again, all this shows he was very well acquainted with that. And Rock Edict 12, wherein Ashoka exhorts his people not to praise one's own sect and condemn another's unduly. Chula Vihaya Sutta Again, it is Mahaviha Sutta of the Sutta Nipata. So, all these, when we examine the rock edicts of Ashoka, he was very well acquainted with certain of the then known Buddhist words or the philosophical terms. Again, the concept of heaven, when we examine many of the rock edicts, we get the world hereafter is nothing but metaphysics. By performing righteous deeds of dharma, great emperor reiterates that not only one will accrue merit here, not only here, but even after. This is the eternal truth enshrined in all the philosophical, in all the religion, whether it is Buddhism, Jainism, or Brahminism or Hinduism, we find this tone and tenor is kept up and followed even today in various religious activities. So this is one aspect. Now we can make in two groups. One is the earlier stage. Now look into the later phase, the post Ashokan period. This is also very important. Even in the inscriptions that are found in the later phase, there are ample reference to Buddhist tenets, canons, religious texts, and philosophical terms. For example, I would like to draw the attention the lower portion of the Garuda pillar inscription, though it is of a different nature, but we find around there is a couple of lines which have a strong bearing on the Buddhist. This one, Heliodorus mentions Trini Amuta Padani I Asu Anuthitani Neyanti Swagam Dhamma Chaga Apramada. So this is very important. See, most of the students we just look into the Heliodorus, that inscription, but the subsequent line, that are found, we tend to not take note of it. That is Dhamma. Dhamma is self-control. Chaga, that is sacrifice. Tyaga, Apramada, and vigilance. These three essential eternal characteristics, when practiced well in this world, lead one to heaven. Similar expressions also found in other works. And the Naneghat inscription of Naganika, of course, is nothing to do but with the Buddhist, this one, but certain expressions, certain things which are defined, it shows the influence of Buddhism. As we know, it gives an elaborate account of various Vedic sacrifices performed by her, but the inscription describes that the mother of Vedishri and Shakti Shri, the observer of monthly fasts, religious austerities in the household, abstinence, adept in observing pledges, vows, these are very important where the qualities are extolled. Then coming to the literal later phase, the Taxila silver scroll inscription of 79 Common Era refer to certain Bahalika of Urasha, son of Intapriya, god, relics of the Supreme Buddha, enshrined in honor of all beings of his parents, friends, minister, kinsmen, and blood relations, and for his own health and for the emancipation. That's very important. Pedestal inscription of Kosam, that is dated in Shaka era 280, states that a certain Buddha Mitra, a female mendicant, please note, were versed in Tripitaka. She was versed in Tripitaka, arranged to set up the image of Bodhisattva in the walking enclosure of the Supreme. That is what the Tripitakas, as you know, baskets, the three collections of sacred Buddhist teachings called Sutra Pitaka and Vinaya Pitaka and Abhidharma Pitaka. That is metaphysics. One deals with the discourses, the second one with discipline, and the metaphysics. This reference in the inscription, the Tripitakas, is very significant, and it gives a historical perspective. Please make note of it. That's very important. Literatures are there, but when a dated inscription particularly mentions this, it has its own added significance. Bodhisattva image inscription, pedestal inscription of Bala, refers to a certain master of Tripitaka. Again, there are plenty here and there references to Tripitakas. He was master who also a former inscription mentions, and Buddhamitra was proficient in Tripitaka. So again, it qualifies a certain persons with their knowledge of Tripitaka, the mastery over the subject. Further, it may be noted that the pedestal inscription of Bala refers to Sarvastivada. This I would be referring again in course of my talk. This is the name of a school of thought among the Buddhists founded by Rahula, son of Buddha, though based on the theory of non-ego, admitting the realities of the object in their normal state. This is one of the four divisions of the Vaibhashika system of Buddhism. This is to be noted. Vaibhashika system of Buddhism, the Bodhisattva image inscriptions of Dhanavati also refers to Buddhamitra and Bala, as well as again it mentions the mastery over Tripitaka. Another very well important in Zeda well inscription of Hippadia of Shaka 11, that is 89 Common Era, written in Kharoshthi script and Prakrit, influenced by in Sanskrit, mention a certain Hippadia, the most venerable of Sarvastivada school. Copperplate casket inscription of Shaitravarman of Shaka 21, Common Era 99, is unique as it sums up the Buddhist philosophy in the most cryptic manner. The inscription states that Shaitravarman, son of Yasha, deposited the physical remains of the supreme Shakyamuni Buddha in the stupa. The preceptors of Sarvastivada in the beautiful new monastery built by them. So thus the description is as the Supreme Lord says, from ignorance spring impressions, from impressions spring consciousness, from consciousness spring name and form, from name and form spring 6 provinces of the 6 senses, from 6 provinces spring contact, sensation, from sensation spring thirst or desire, from thirst springs attachment, and from attachment springs existence, from existence springs birth, from birth old age and death, grief, lamentation, suffering, dejection, and despair. Such is the origin of the whole and unique mass of suffering. May these relics of Lord of the universe be honored by all sentient beings, and likewise the summary of doctrine of cause and effect, Pratitya Samutpada, which again I will explain later. So see the beautiful, this is from the inscription. It is not from the some other literature. What the inscription has said, I have just cited. This chain of causation, Pratitya Samutpada, was written by Mahipatika at the instance of Shaitravarman for the adoration of all sentient beings. The Buddhist inscription of Swat records a Sanskrit rendering of a famous verse in Pali, supposed to have been spoken by Indra, the celestial monarch of the time of Buddha's death, Maha Parinibbana Sutta. The translation of the text is as follows: all transient, alas, the transient of the formation of beings where nature is birth and decay. Once born in due course, they disappear. Their birth and death cessation is bliss. The remaining two verses of Dhammapada, that is verse number 183 and 281 respectively. Abstaining from sin, accumulating merit, purification of one's mind, that is the teaching of Buddha. May one follow the path shown by the sage by moderation in speech, by controlling the mind, and by abstention from evil in action. Kawat, the bronze verse inscription of Shaka 51, refers to the installation of the relic of Supreme Shakya sage in this two-part Vagra Varega monastery at the Kawat. This inscription has a special significance because apart from sharing the merit of benevolence to the nearest and dearest, mentions that the honor for all the beings like those born of egg, grass, and sweat from the heavens here in the middle up to hell, and also for the foremost benefit of the future generation of my family, co-religionist and adherent of false religion. So this very unique inscription. The Badarika Rama inscription from Kosam mentions the setting up of an umbrella in the Purva Siddha temple at Badarika Rama for the worship of Supreme Pitama Buddha. Lord Buddha is also known as Pitamaha and Dashabala. These are the names. The Buddha, perfectly enlightened, experienced in the Eightfold Path, which forms one of the cardinal principles of Buddhist philosophy. The Eightfold Paths are right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi, the meditative absorption or union. The Mahachaitya inscription of Chantishri and Ananda mentioned that their pious construction of the great monument is accepted by the preceptors of Apara Mahavanshaila sect. This is one of the sect. This was completed by Venerable Ananda, the disciple of the preceptors of Arya Sangha, reciting at Padnagama, preaching Digha Majhima Pancha Matukas. This is very important, the reference. That Matrika are the text on basic doctrines, obviously referring to Digha Nikayas, Majhima, Samyuta, Anguttara, and Khuddaka. These are the names, Pali text, which form the five uh, Nikayas or the Sutra Pitaka. And further, this inscription state that he knew two Nikayas by heart. That is mentioned. The pillar inscription of Rudra Badarika has a beautiful invocatory words which encapsulate the basic tenets of Buddhism. The very Buddha who not only preached and practiced salutation to the Supreme Buddha, honored by the Lords of Celestials, perfectly enlightened, omniscient, compassionate towards all sentient beings, free from lust, hatred, and delusion. Another inscription, footprint, slab inscription from Nagarjuna Konda. In the south, especially, I would like to mention Amaravati and Nagarjuna Konda. We have plenty, large number of inscriptions which reflects on the sects and subsects prevailed at that point of time, Satavahanas and their successors, and the Buddhist texts also are mentioned. Very, very important site, both Amaravati as well as Nagarjuna Konda, especially in the south. Nagarjuna records that in the monastery of the elder preceptor, Vibhajavada school, Vibhajavada, doctrine of analysis, reason, residing in the great monastery, who favored converted people of Kashmira, Gandhara, Yavana, Vanavasa, and Tamraparni. These are the places that are mentioned, Dvipa, who are adept in fixing the meaning and the implications of Shastra. That is, Shasta is another name of Buddha. Manifold teachings, they are Satta, sermons in prose, Gaya, sermons in prose and verse, Vyakarma, explanation or commentary, Gatha, scriptures in stanzas, Udama, Piti, sayings, Itivartaka, short speeches of the Buddha, Jatakas, stories of Buddha, former births, Abhrata Dharma, stories of miracles, and Vedalla, teaching in the form of question and answers, and who knew by heart the traditions. So this is a very important, unique inscription, the footprint slab inscription of Nagarjunakonda from in the monastery. So apart from that, let's take a couple of inscriptions that are from the Nath also. The Saranath umbrella inscription of 2nd, 3rd century Common Era contains a short narration of 4 Arya Satyas, Arya Satya, Arya Satyas, the fundamental doctrines of Buddha, Dukkham, suffering, Dukkha Samudaya, the cause of suffering, Dukkha Nirodha, the suppression of suffering, and Dukkha Nirodha, Gamini, Cha Pati Patipada, the path leading to the suppression of suffering. It may be noted that Kara Buddhist inscription of 4th century opens with an assertion of the impermanent nature of individual being. Nama Rupam Anityam. Nama Rupam Anityam. Realization of the impermanent nature of all things leads to the attainment of right knowledge. This is very important philosophical truth hidden in the known through this epigraph. The epigraphs from Sanchi and Barhut stupas attest to the existence of Sutta Pitaka with its 5 Nikayas in the 2nd century BC. See, this is very important. Little later than Ashokan. In fact, Ashoka himself and his contemporary subjects must be aware of all these sutra literature. Sutta Pitaka with its 5 Nikayas in the 2nd century BC, and the 2 Buddhist monks, Pamchane Kaya, one who knows the 5 Nikayas, is called Pan. In the canon of other schools called, Nikaya is also called Agama, used in instead of Nikaya. There are 2 expressions. We find the Nikaya and the use of Agama also. It may be noted that Pratitya Samutpada or Nidana Sutra, the text of this sutra, is contained in the epigraphs from Nalanda and other places. The earliest epigraphs containing the sutra is from the Kuram casket inscription of Kushan period. The Gopalpur brick inscription and the Kosia copperplate inscription contain the sutra, and these records are in the Gupta characters and Sanskrit language. So this I have tried to give, especially from the early records, selected some from the south and from the north, which gives the quintessence, the canonical literature, especially the philosophical trends that can be given a historical perspective I have given. Now let's move to the second half of our this one, sects and subsects. This is very important. Uh, though they overlap in each other, this is one important aspect. Inscription, especially of early phase, are very significant to understand the gradual growth of various early Buddhist sects, because many are knowing Mahayana and Hinayana form, but many of the students may not be aware of many of the sects that are mentioned in the epigraphs. The huge corpus of Ashokan edicts found throughout the length and breadth of the country forms the bedrock of the origin and growth of various sects, and further we see the undercurrents of Buddhist philosophical thoughts. Though his edicts, we know, Ashoka associated himself with Buddhist Sangha for more than a year as a lay devotee. Perhaps this association prompted him to issue edict in 257 6 BC, addressed exclusively to the Buddhist monks and nuns, though we come to know that he might have spent considerable time to assimilate and absorb basic moral tenets of Buddhism, which were also present in other faiths. He urged monks and nuns to follow the tenets strictly, that his preaching can be more effective. He exerted that to listen and to reflect on all texts of Buddha's saying on the Dharma. He says, I want that all the monks, nuns should often listen to and reflect on the texts of Dharma as Vinaya Samutkarsha. Vinaya Samutkarsha, that is the exaltation of discipline, Aryavasaha, the noble states of living, Anagata Bhayani, remedy for fears to come, and the Song of the Sage. I like that there are many aphorisms are mentioned. Rahula Vadaha, the exaltation of the Rahula on the subject of falsehood. So he says the lay followers, both in male and female, should listen and reflect on these texts. It's well known that these texts are based on the oral pronouns of Buddha. With the passage of time, naturally there arose dissensions regarding the exact wordings or the intended meanings even before Buddha passed away. In the course of time, they were codified, committed to writing, perhaps seeking more some clarification from the Buddha and later on from his chief disciples like Shariputra, Rahula, etc. Further, as known from Saranath, minor pillar rock edict, he had to issue a sternly faced edict in which monks and nuns who created division in the Sangha were warned that they would be made to wear white robes and will be sent to places unfit for even recluses to live. In all possibility, the monks and the nuns who were the members of the Sangha enjoyed the patronage of the emperor but have tried to assert themselves in matters of Sangha. Refers to division in the Sangha is possibly due to the growing number of sects within the Buddhist order. It is opined that the division started appearing much before Ashoka's reign and in all probability around 286 BC, when the second council of the Sangha was held at Vaishali. Especially monks belonging to the eastern part of North India, including Vaishali and Pataliputra, formed their own sect as against those of west based at Kaushambi and Avanti. At the outset, the main difference between two groups, the eastern group, came to be known as Mahasangikas, a group based on the broad tenets governed by 10 rules, which include practices like storing of salt, overeating, acceptance of gold and silver. Apart from this, the supermundane nature of Buddha. The Bodhisattvas and Arhats believed in Mahasangikas. This to be noted. The other sect called Theravadins, who are of conservative in nature. Theravadins are conservative in nature. So if we look into the tenets of Mahasangikas, we can say it was a precursor to Mahayana system of Buddhism in which defection, worship, etc. of Buddha are propagated. Further, with the passage of time, both the schools developed further differences within them and more sects started appearing, especially early epigraphs reported from this region stands as a testimony to the division that took place within the schools. Theravadins, also called Sthaviravadins and Vibhajyavadins. These are the pedestal inscription of Bala, now preserved in the Indian Museum, Calcutta, belongs to the reign of Kanishka, mentions that Bala, a monk versed in Tripitaka, a colleague of the monk Pushyavriddhi, gave the image of Bodhisattva and Aparla and a shaft on the walking platform around the shrine of Bhagavat Buddha in the monastery of Kaushambi, Kuti at Saravasti into the possession of preceptors of Sarvastivada. So you may note here, it comes Sarvastivada. It is stated that its name of school of thought among the Buddhists found by Dvarabula, son of Buddha. This is one of the four divisions of the Vaibhashika system of Buddhism. It may be noted that the footprint, the slab inscription of Nagarjunakonda, refers to a certain elder preceptor belonging to the Vibhajyavada school, which postulate doctrine of analysis. It is stated that Sthaviravadins branched off into two separate groups, Mahishasaka and Vijjiputaka. This is again the branch which we find. The pillar inscription of Kodabalishri of the 11th regnal year of Ikshwaku dynasty mention preceptors of Mahishasaka, the sect, and this sect parted from Sthaviravadins. Further, it is noted that Mahishasaka separated into two more groups, Moolashthaviravadins and Kashyapiyas. This is to be noted. For instance, Pabosa inscription of the time of Udaka states that the cave was excavated by Ashadasena in the 10th year of the reign of Udaka for the Buddhist ascetics of the Kashyapiya school. So we find the names occurring of different sects and subsects. This school affords the view that the bodhisattvas are average beings, that arahats have ignorance and doubt, etc. Vijjiputaka branched into Bhadranayika and Samatiyakas. The Nasik inscription of Vasishtiputra Pulumavi, while mentioning the benefactions made by the great queen Gautami Balashri, states that she gave a group of ascetics belonging to the Bhadrayaniya. So this sect we find in the mention of this Nasik inscription of Vasishtiputra Pulumavi. And Mahasangikas, another major sect which many epigraphical references are Mahasangikas. The stone bowl inscription of Ayala mentions that the gift is of Ayala, sign of Indra Sharma, for the worship of all the Buddhas in the monastery of goldsmiths for the acceptance of teachers of the Mahasangha Dasaka school. And this is obviously an offshoot of Mahasangha, comprising the laity who blindly follows the adherents of the main school. Another Kharoshti inscription of Kavat, bronze image inscription of Kushana dynasty, refers to a monastery which was left in charge of preceptors of Mahasangika. This also may be made note of. And the Buddha image inscription of Guhasena and the Karle inscription of Harapadna also refers to group of teachers belonging to Mahasangika school. Further, we notice that the Mahasangika divided into Gokulika and Chaitikas. So many subsects started appearing. Dharmachakra inscription of Amaravati states that two persons belonging to the Pindasutari's family, the householder of Kahutara and Isila, son of householder Puri, with his brother, mother, sister, wife, and Nagnika sons set up a slab bearing the sculpture of the wheel of Dharma at the western gate of the great Chaitya of the Supreme Buddha, which was under the protection of Chaityaikas. So please make a note of this. It was under the protection of the Chaityakiyas. Gokulika further branched off into Bahushruti. Further branches you may find. Gokulika further branched into Bahushrutiya. It may be noted that the inscription from Bhartrideva from Nagarjunakonda refers to the preceptors of Bahushrutiya sect. It is said that Bahushrutiya were branch of Mahasangikas. This school attempted a syncretism of Hinayana and Mahayana. It classified Buddha's teaching into supra-mundane thoughts relating to transitoriness, suffering, non-existence of objects, objects of soul, and to the ultimate goal into the mundane affairs relating to all other topics. It may be noted that further Chaitikas branched off into Purva Shaila. This many inscriptions, they do mention about the Purva Shaila and Apara Shaila. Especially, you get this reference, also known as Arya Sangha. We also have a reference to this Arya Sangha. The Dharma Chakra shaft inscription from Dharnikota, that is Guntur, now preserved in Amaravati Museum, refers to Purva Shailya sect. So this is a sect forming a subdivision of Mahasangikas, probably designated so on account of their residence in the eastern hill as against the other in the western hill, Apara Shailya and Apara Maha Shailya. The Chaitya inscription of Bodhishri also refers to Purva Shaila. Another sect which branched off from the Chaityakas is Apara Shaila, also known as Arya Sangha. Mahachaitya inscription of Chantishri and Ananda refers to Apara Mahavan Shailya sect. It is stated that this sect was one among the subsects of later Mahasangikas, one branch of which migrated to the south. Minor differences of opinion regarding the robes, nature, and manner of food worship led to the formation of subsects. Other inscriptions which refer to this sect are inscription of Queen Bapishri, stone hall inscription of Chantishri, and many other inscriptions. Uh, Not less than at least a dozen inscription, refer to the subsects. For example, the Bedadi copper plate ladle inscription, calligraphically assigned to the pre-Kushana period, records the gift of Sangharakshita to the congregation of Kashyapya teacher. This is again a text, sect uh, from the four quarters in the Urusha kingdom. So this copper plate, copper ladle inscription, Bedadi, it mentions, and the Mathura lion capital inscription of the time of Rajuvula and Shodasha, assigned to 1st century Common Era, depicts the Sarvastivadins and the Mahasangakiyas as two rival sects. This is very important. And the third inscription, Shahajaki Dheri casket inscription of the reign of Kanishka first, records a religious gift made to the Sarvastivadin teachers. And the Zeda inscription of the reign of the same king records a gift made for the Itkribs of, again, Sarvastivada. The Kurram casket inscription of the year 20 records the establishment of a relic of Lord Shakyamuni for the benefit of the Sarvastivada teaches. The Vardak vase inscription of the year 51, referring to the reign of Huvishka, states that the Vagramarega Vihara was erected for the Mahasangika teachers. The Sahet Mahet inscription of the time of Kanishka. Many Kushana inscriptions we have which do refer to the sects and subsects. He records the gift of Bodhisattva image, which is stated to be the property of Sarvastivadin teachers. And the Mathura stone channel inscription of the year 91 records some erection, most probably the channel itself, for the increase of the religious merit of the Mahasangikas. So these are all the different sects, we have direct reference in the epigraphs. And the Mathura stone inscription belonging to the Kushana period records the dedication of an image of Bodhisattva for the acceptance of Samitiya. This, please make a note, Samitiya teachers. This also is found mentioned in the Mathura stone slab inscription belonging to the Kushan period. The Tordheri potsherds inscription, dated to 200 Common Era, records the making of religious gift of Sarvastivadin teachers. And the Palatu Dheri Jar inscription, comparatively of later period, refers to Bahushrutiyaka and Kashyapiya Shramanas. Again, very interestingly, a clay seal unearthed during the excavations at Sankisha in the Kushan characters, it refers to Ayana Haimavata. That is Aryani Haimavatanam. That is what it says. So these are at least a dozen inscription which has a bearing on this inscription. And the two important schools of Buddhism are Sarvastivadins and Mahasangikas, as I earlier referred. The Mathura lion capital inscription is the earliest to mention these schools. Further, the rivalry between these two schools also proved by the inscription. The earliest Kushan record that refers to the Sarvastivadins is the Kalwan inscription of the year 13, and it's an indication that Kushana rulers were in favor of Sarvastivada, and Mathura was an important center of this school. The Kharoshti inscription of the northwestern region seem to attest that Afghanistan seemed to have been the stronghold of the Mahasangikas. Another important sect we may take note of is Haimavata, which I just referred to, like the Sarvastivadins they were a subsect of Sthavravadins, Haimavatas. It may be noted that here the two relic casket inscriptions from Sanchi Stupa, number 2, refer to Haimavatas. As suggested by its name, this sect seems to have originated in the Himalayan region. Haimavata is Himalayan region. Perhaps we don't know whether the same trend the Buddhists who are there in other are following this tenets or not. We have to look into that. As suggested by its name, the sect seems to have originated in the Himalayan region. Another sect which finds its reference in epigraphs are the Dharmaguptakas. This is another sect which we come across, Dharmaguptakas, who were closely associated to the Sarvastivadins. The Kashyapiyas, also known as Suvarshakas. Of course, this again another new expression coming to light. Uh, Kashyapiyas, also known as Suvarshakas, were a subsect of the Sthaviravadins, also occur in inscription. Some more subsects that we come across in Kushan inscription are the Samitiyas or the Sammitiyas, who were allied to Vatsiputriya. Again, we have this like a matronymic we are getting Vatsiputriya sect of the Sthaviravadin school. Lastly, the Bahushrutiyas we have, who were a later branch of the Mahasangikas. Bahushrutiyas, this is another subsect mentioned in the Palatu Dheri Jhar inscription. It can be said that very little information about the Buddhist schools and sects is traceable from the epigraphs of Gupta and post-Gupta periods, because the Brahminism emerged at a very little reference, and of course there must be, but for our study especially, to trace this origin and growth, development, the early epigraphs, especially from 3rd century BC to Gupta, or little earlier to Gupta, is very, very important. It forms a very crucial period for us. So we may mention here the Kura copperplate inscription of Toramana Saha, calligraphically assigned to 4th to 5th century Common Era, records the construction of a monastery for the teachers of Mahishasaka, for the teachers of Mahishasaka school. The Mahishasaka formed one of the 5 branches of Sarvastivada school. And when we look into these, the education or the acquaintance of the Buddhist texts is quite reflected in. It is quite interesting to note that one of the Ashokan inscription furnishes a list of religious texts which he prescribed not only for the monks and nuns but also for common laity. So when you look into the what sort of education system, what did they study Buddhist, this gives ample information. Following is the list of these texts that are found in the, especially please make note, Calcutta Bharat rock inscription. This very important, and to look into the education system or what are the Buddhist texts they were aware or they were connected with, we may know Vinaya Samukase, this what the third Tuvataka Sutta. So Vinaya Samukase, we get the terms, such terms in this Calcutta Bharat rock edict, where we get Vinaya Samukase is from Tuvataka Sutta, Aliya Vasani, Arya Vamsha. Again, this is from Anguttara Nikaya text. Anagata Bhayani, that is again from Anguttara Nikaya. Muni Gatha, Muni Sutta, Sutta Nipata, and Moneya Sutta, Nalaka Sutta. Again from, it is from Nalaka Sutta. Upatisa Pasina, that is Rathavim Inita Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya. Laghulovada, that is Rahulovada, again it is from Rahulovada Sutta. So the above list provides us some idea of Buddhist literature that was studied in the days, those days of Ashoka. And the Tripitakas, namely Sutra Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, Abhidharma Pitaka, and the 5 Nikayas, Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Kuddaka Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya and Anguttara Nikaya were also taught to the students that we gather when we look into or analyze these rock edicts. Probably these were all the subjects which the students they studied in many of the Buddhist viharas, where teaching also was carried on. Lastly, I would like to conclude my talk with uh, as we started with the prayer. I would like to say very often, many epigraphs from entire, especially in the course of excavation, Buddhist sites, many records, even many have come and many are coming, is the Om Yedharma Hetu Prabhava Hetu Tesham Tathagato Hyevadat Tesham Cha Yo Nirodha Evam Vadi Mahasramanaha. So this is very often many dated, many undated epigraphs, uh, have come, and this is very, very important, especially to date the image. If it is not dated, also calligraphically speaking, we can date the inscription, and this is a common uh, creed, Buddhist creed, which often we come across most of the epigraphists and archaeologists also in the course of their excavation. And perhaps, I couldn't go to the seals and sealings. That also again gives a vast idea, because they mention about the many schools, and I rather request to some researchers to take up if the seals and sealings discovered from different archaeological sites, Buddhist sites, they must be having a lot of information regarding the Buddhist doctrines and the schools that prevailed in different parts of India. I think that part need to be have only examined the epigraphs. There may be many seals and sealings reported from different parts of India, especially from northern part, that need to be studied. And I have even the Buddhist studies which they take up as a multidisciplinary subject as we take, better to bring in the epigraphic, the facts that are hidden, that are in the epigraphs and the literature, and to make a corroborative study. It may supplement and give a good historical perspective to our thinking. So regarding dharmas, so the meaning is regarding the dharmas, they arise from a cause. The Tathagata taught their cause and also their cessation. These were the words of the great mendicant. The Madhyamika tradition of Pratitya Samutpada is considered equivalent to the emptiness itself, because arising from depends as many various causes, phenomena cannot be said to be autonomous or truly self-existent. So with this, I thank the Heritage Society for giving me an opportunity to uh, give a very, very broad outline. I have not gone into the details of any particular sect or subsect or the doctrines, the philosophical trends, only to give a broad concept. I think further, earlier scholars, no doubt they have done a lot of research work. Further, it needs to be, and we necessarily look into the epigraphical sources. I again emphasize to the earlier phase, we have to see at least the to know the religious history. Let it be the Brahminism or Jainism or any, the epigraphical sources forms a paramount source to understand our past, especially when we are on the task of rewriting history, to remove certain things, from to set right. We have to look for these epigraphical sources. So again, I have a message for the students, especially to utilize the epigraphical sources and do more and more research in this area so that we can enrich our glorious past, and whether it be religious history or any part, any aspect of cultural history, India is connected. And I fondly remember one of our directors used to say, like, Banochishtam Jagat Sarvam, like that, Shasanochistam Jagat Sarvam. There is no aspect under sun and moon, there is no aspect that is left out. So you can look for epigraphs, there are in abundance. Only we have to make a detailed, focused, concentrated, dedicated study to get to unravel our past and glorify our rich history. With this, I again thank the Heritage Society for giving me an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, a very informative talk. It clearly highlights the role of inscription in revealing and understanding Buddhist sects and philosophy. Now, I would like to call Andrila Ghoshal to give vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Fuharji, for wonderfully moderating the session. I'm extremely delighted to give the vote of thanks. Thank you so much, sir, Dr. T.S. Ravishankar, sir. Thank you so much. I'm a student of Buddhist studies. I'm really engrossed in the talk. Our deep regards and thanks from the core of my heart for this scholastic and resourceful talk. I was actually engrossed in the talk. I'm sure this talk will be very helpful for the students of Buddhist studies as well as paleography and different areas of epigraphy and many other areas. You have given a detailed description reference of early inscriptions that have reference to Buddhist philosophy, sects, and the inscriptions, and historically authenticated the canonical literature, sects, subsects, and so on. And you have also shown us where we can do further study, and you have shown us avenues for unraveling our rich and heritage history. Thank you very much, Dr. Anantashutosh Dwivedi ji, Director General of Heritage Society, Patna, for arranging this session. Thank you, Dhamma Ratana ji, for the beautiful Buddhist chanting. Thank you, Bhanupriya ji, Bihar Circle, for technical support. And thank you all who are listening to this talk and all the members of Heritage Society. Thank you all once again, and my pranam to you, sir, once again. It was a wonderful talk, actually.
Thank
Thank you so much.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Over to you, Furaji, for Valiji.